Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens. I am here on scene near the Queen City. I'm talking about Charlotte, North Carolina, and I got a special guest today. But I want to start off, before I introduce the special guest, talking a little bit about the leader mentality. And we've had a lot of people on the show over time that have talked about their tricks in getting people motivated and how they get themselves motivated and how they get a business started. But we never had anybody on here that I felt like could talk about when you need your own internal motivation and where you go from there. So without further ado, I want to introduce a guy that some of you know. You've seen him on TV possibly. You might have read his books. Dr. Andre Blaylock. How you doing, my friend? Man? Good to have you, man. Yeah, do one of those. And he's got hard hands too, I just found out. So, well, look, I met you at a speaking event not too long ago.
Absolutely.
And you kind of blew me away, but I felt like we had a connection there because we had a similar kind of a vibe going with the crowd. What you been up to, man?
Hey, man, just working on my fourth book.
Fourth.
And you've been around, I got to show you around. But just working, man, just trying to work on this little plantation we got here. It's just always something to do.
Right.
It's always something to do.
All right. Well, I got a little present for you. So when you're working on that plantation you talked about, I always want you to do it in style. So I got you a little leader mentality.
Come on, man.
Hey,
I love t-shirts.
Yeah, and somebody asked me one time, they said, what's the heartbeat all about? And I said, well, look, if you're a leader, it's always what's in your heart first.
Exactly.
So that's what that heartbeat's all about. And just like that, I like to think that, that's kind of also how life goes, right?
Exactly.
There's ups and downs.
Ups and downs, yep.
And you talked about some stuff at one of these events we were at that I thought was going to be a powerful message for our people today. But let's get into a little bit of it, man. What you been busy with over the last few months?
I've been mentoring a couple of people, like people who are aspiring writers, people who are having relationship issues, and a lot of men who, just like you were saying, they want to go to the next level but don't know how. They're afraid. So it's just putting together a couple of classes and stuff like that so I can start doing new workshops, maybe beginning next year.
When you talk about mentorship, and I get asked to mentor people sometimes, are you doing one-on-ones with people, or is yours more of a group setting?
Rob, I'm more into infotainment for the most part.
Yeah.
I will do one-on-ones, but I've noticed, me personally, I don't take it away from anybody else, but personally, one-on-one, you start to take on the problems of people, and sometimes it's hard to detach. I'm more of an empath, so I feel what other people are going through.
Wow.
And it's hard to turn that off sometimes. So it's better to give information out in a group setting, on a stage, and then when I leave, maybe I've left something that somebody can dig in deeper and then develop a course or something so that they can go through it individually. But the one-on-one thing is not necessarily what I do most of the time.
I appreciate that tip, because I think a lot of people who may have found themselves in a position that you're talking to a crowd or even in a managerial position, sometimes people are like, hey, I want you to be my mentor.
Right.
But I know what you mean. Then all of a sudden you start taking on the problems and you become a psychologist a little bit too much, right?
Exactly.
So, well, that's cool.
And it's hard to try to solve people's problems for them. I believe if you have a problem, you have the answer within you. Right? So all I can do is just ask you different questions and get you to figure out what your drama is, what your hurdle is. But if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, and I want you to see it so badly, I can't do what I need to do.
Okay. So. I got you. Now we're getting pretty deep on that, so I do want to circle back around to this. I think it's some good information. But for those of us that are listening today and might not have gotten as much into your history, tell us a little bit about young Dr. Andre Blaylock and how you got to this point.
Okay. I used to be a yes man. I used to be the type of person who would sacrifice how I felt and what I wanted to make another person happy. And I learned later on in life that was insecurity. And I was not doing anybody else a favor by hiding who I was, because they were getting to know a false version of myself. And I never could, like most of the time, like if I meet you, the beginning of the relationship, I stick a pin in it. And I expect you to remain that way for the duration of our relationship. But when you do that, you won't allow a person to grow. And there was something deep within me that needed to grow, but I had to realize that I'm worth it. And Beyond Worth It came in the military. I was dating this young lady, and she just took advantage of me. And so let's just say this guy, he was like maybe 7 years older than me. He came up to me the next day. He showed me some pictures. Like, do you recognize this girl? I'm like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. You know, yeah. How long have you known her? You know, and he was like, man, I met her last night. And the pictures he showed me were very explicit.
Oh.
And I had never kissed her or anything. I'm trying to be this good guy.
Yeah.
This dude had done everything to him. He's like, you need to take this home and think about these pictures, right?
Oof.
So I started thinking, like, I don't deserve that type of treatment. But you don't get in life what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
Oh, okay.
So I just learned how to be a better negotiator. So I was very fearful. So to overcome my fear of speaking, I joined a play and I started traveling in front of people because I'm like, look, once I get on that stage, either I'm going to sink or I'm going to swim. And none of us like being made a fool of. But I embodied the character so much that even though they were minimum characters, they were minor characters, but the personality I brought into them, they kind of became a favorite.
Okay.
Because I could express a part of me that was hidden through these characters. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can do that, then I could write a book, you know. So I started with the blog post in 2009.
Okay. From
2009 to 2014, this particular blog, it was, if you Google Gigolo, it was the top rated on Google for like from 2009 to 2014.
Ooh, okay.
And then my friend said, hey man, that's a book.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not. It's like, yeah, it is. So I started writing it. That's the first book came out of it, which was What's Your Date Number? They came out of that. And then the second one, Cheat Proof, and the third one, Forensics of Cheating. So I just learned, Rob, that sometimes it's not how you feel, it's just what you do. Your feelings don't care if you win or lose. They're just feelings, right? And I like to look at emotions. They're good and they're bad. Now, under the good ones, you can put like, I guess, motivation. You could put optimism. You could put love. Under bad, you could put like fear. You could put depression. But either way, it's like your emotions are like a GPS system. It's like when you're feeling good about something, generally you're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
But when you start feeling kind of bad or it's off, like you need to stop. Wait a minute. Where did I get off track?
Yeah.
Where did I get off track? So from that book, the Dr. Phil show came, and Dr. Phil pushed me in the direction.
And by the way, quick note on this. My wife loves some Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
I watch a lot more Dr. Phil than anybody knows.
Right. Right.
So, okay, I got you.
So when the cameras were off or during the commercial break, he was like, Andre, I don't get you.
And by the way, I love the accent. Okay, cool.
I'm like, what do you mean, Philip McGraw?
Yeah.
Like, you're a 6-figure guy, but you could be earning 7 figures. Like, you got your book out, and like, why are you not doing it? I'm like, I'd rather be heard than seen, because sometimes the higher you go, the bigger target you become.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I'm non-politically correct, but sometimes the truth is hard to hear.
Yeah.
And we're not in a environment right now where truth prevails. It's like whatever you feel is your reality, and I'm supposed to accept your reality. But your reality could be drama. Your reality does not have to be truth, like mine doesn't either.
Yeah.
So to stand up and tell the truth in this time is like, it's kind of difficult. And I just told him, if I write it and people pick it up, that's something different.
Well, I get you. I get you.
If I'm standing in front of this camera and I say something, now all of a sudden I can be bombarded by different things.
Well, you got to pick. It's almost like, do I want to open that door of that particular negativity into my life potentially?
Right.
You have to make that decision if you want to or not, right?
That's true. And as your star rises, as your show goes up, I mean, it's like as you become more visible, there's more responsibility on you. Right. But then there are people who are opportunistic, and they're going to look at you like, okay, why are they trying to hitch their wagon to Rob, right? I just don't want to play those games. Like, I know how to be public because I realize I'm a public person, but I respect my privacy. Yeah. So being able to draw the line Whenever I get in front of the camera on stage, that's when Dr. Blaylock shows up. When I'm off, that's when Andre Blaylock is. And Andre Blaylock is different from Dr. Andre Blaylock.
I like this. And by the way, I just want to do a quick recalculating of things, because some of the stuff you said is really interesting. I want to go back to what you said about being a yes man and how insecurities are part of that. Explain that a little bit better for us.
Well, I didn't think that my opinions mattered. When I look at my siblings, my sister, she was above me. She was like 8 years above me. And my brother is like 9 years below me. So
that's a wide gap.
It's a wide gap. So a lot of my time was spent to myself. Or if I wanted to engage with my sisters, like, nope, nobody want to hear you. Go play, be quiet, go sit somewhere. If grown folks are talking, it's kind of like be seen, not heard. So I had to really develop my personality through books, through reading, through spending time by myself.
Okay.
But then whenever I encountered somebody else, it was all about, I didn't think that my opinion really mattered.
Wow.
And my coach, I was talking to him a couple of days ago, and normally I would start a story and I'm like, okay, well, anyway, I digress. It's like, why do you keep doing that? Why do you keep stopping? What you have to say is important. But I'm thinking that maybe I've said too much. Let me just go ahead and be quiet. So even today, I have to really fight against that to say like, okay, well, what I have to give is valuable. Even if I don't think that it is, there's somebody behind me that has this experience. And me being quiet is not going to help them out at all.
Man, you know what? This is why I wanted you on the show, to be honest with you, because I think these are things we don't talk about enough. And they're things that sometimes, especially, I know I've heard you talking about the male psyche in 2023. You don't want to show any vulnerability.
Right.
It's hard, So when you talk like this, I truly understand you. And even with something like my show, I had to kind of make a decision of some people aren't going to like my show. And that's hard. Nobody wants to have that bit, and the larger you get, the more opportunity you're going to get to somebody to judge you in a way that may not feel good. But you also have to remember there's people that do enjoy your show. And to this day, it still makes me laugh when somebody will call me and say, Rob, I hadn't seen a show in a week or so. Are you going to put one out? So you just got to get that audience that does appreciate you, right? Exactly. I got you.
And also, you said something earlier before the camera started rolling. You started talking about like passion, right? And people are passionate about certain things. But beyond your passion is your purpose. What is your purpose? Okay. I could be passionate about fixing cars. But know nothing about tools. Right? That might not be my purpose. Right? You're, I think, walking in your purpose because you're a motivator. You are a natural motivator. You're excited. So you love what you do. It just shows, it radiates. You love what you do.
And I think an important thing is, I went through a lot of my life, talk about what is passion, what is your purpose, that exact thing. And what I found is when you really have a purpose behind it, you'll do it because you are compelled to do it. You know what I mean? So, okay, I'm with you.
And that's what it is. So even now, the whole Dr. Blaylock thing, I deal with relationships and dating. And it's hard to talk about romantic aspects of dating because people have in their mind this avatar of what they want and they don't want. And I had to tell someone I was coaching the other day, I'm like, lady, I know what you want, but you need to concentrate on who wants you, not who you want. Who you want don't matter. Who wants you?
Well, fair.
That's the one who's going to probably treat you right. But you're dismissing them because in your mind they have to be this height, this weight, this income level. That's a type. The problem with types is your type has a type. And the reason you're talking to me is you're not your type's type. So you might need to recalculate and update your software.
Man, I think that might be a future book title for you. You're not your type's type.
It might be.
At least a chapter in the book.
Exactly.
All right.
So, I don't know, Rob. I think it's like I'm in a good place right now. I'm in a good place because I'm not concentrating on. Once upon a time when I started doing this, because I came from such a low level of self-esteem, I'm like, okay, I got to be up here. I have to have all of these people liking me and stuff. And then I realized it don't take that many. How do you define success? The way I define success is if I am actively doing whatever it is that I intentionally set out to do I'm successful.
Wow.
If I am a janitor and I purposefully decided that this is what I want to be, and I'm doing that at the best level, I am successful.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I had to break it down because, I'm into statistics and numbers. So I broke it down to someone the other day. I'm like, you know how much money that you have to make to be in the top 1% of income earners in the world?
Oh, man. I couldn't even take a stab at it, but it's going to be crazy.
$32,000.
Oh, okay. Wow.
$32,000, because if you think about it, there's certain places on this planet where people earn $20 a week.
Yeah.
So $80 a month. If you earn $300 in a certain place in Africa, you can live great. If you're willing to spend $1,500 a month, which over here is like rent, just basic rent.
Yeah.
$1,500 a month in other countries will get you a mansion. It would get you servants. It would get you a security staff. So we are losing perspective.
Yeah.
So even when it comes to success, if you're doing what you intentionally set out to do at your level, that's fine. So I realize now with the income that I make and the living that I have, it doesn't take millions of people. It just takes a few thousand that say, Dr. Blaylock, I really enjoy what you're doing. They support me in what I'm doing, so it's not in vain.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not in vain.
That's how you're connecting to that audience, and that makes the difference. So going into talking about who you are, you set your goals, you set your sights. So it's important to set your sights at something that's got some meaning, right?
Yes.
What do you tell people who say, Doctor, how do I find that meaning for me? I mean, do you have a recommendation for people?
Absolutely. If you found out that you had 6 months to live and 10 things you could tell people, the 10 things that you really want people to know about what you've experienced, what would they be?
Wow.
Now you have 2 months to live. What would it do? Drop it down to 5. You have 30 days to live. What would be the one thing, if you had to convey to people this one thing, what would it be? If you can't narrow it down to that, you're not really being serious.
Yeah.
And you just have potential. All of us have potential.
Yes.
But there's a such thing called unrealized potential. There's so many books that are going to go unwritten. There's so many inventions that are going to go to the grave with some people because they have the potential for it, but they just haven't narrowed down the why. It's not the what. Sometimes the what is important, but it's the why.
Yeah.
And then once you get the why, it's important for you to know this, Rob, because boom, and then you settle on that one thing, then you'll write the book. Then you'll go to school, then you'll get the degree, then you'll do whatever it is that you need to do. But a lot of people have never defined the why.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing too, part 2 to that is, I started moving forward, Rob, when I found out, or when I knew this, but when I really, really got it. Andre, you're going to die. You're going to die. Okay? Once you realize that you're really going to die, then a lot of stuff just kind of evaporates because you realize you can't take a lot of stuff with you. So it's not about chasing money. It's not about the cars. Sometimes it's not about the houses and stuff, because none of that will really bring meaning to your life. And I learned that past a certain income level, it doesn't bring happiness anyway.
Wow. I heard something one time. They said, what does a young man want? He wants money. But what does a older man want that's got money? He wants time.
Exactly.
So you got this crisscross, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like let's just say from, I don't know, 7 years old to about 50. Well, I ain't going to give it to 50, but let's just say 45. You're learning how to live.
Yeah.
But beyond 50, you're learning how to die.
Wow.
Right? So me knowing that I have an expiration date, what am I trying to leave behind for other people?
Yeah.
I've heard somebody say, from a man's perspective, 3 things you want to leave behind: kids, a book, plant a tree.
Okay.
Because all those things are going to outlive you, right? And bring the next generation something else. So I think that I'm learning how to die very well.
That's positive, man.
I think I'm learning how to die very well because it gives me.
I found the title of this show, by the way.
You're silly. You're silly. And another thing, Rob, vulnerability. I met you talking about masculine vulnerability. Vulnerability is not a popular thing to be, but you find your greatness in fear. It's not so much that you're afraid to get in front of people and doing things. It's like, what do you do with that? Out of that fear can come greatness, right? But it can also immobilize you. One of the things that I noticed about you, and I know this is your show, but this is something I noticed about you, is that you keep putting one foot in front of the other because you're faithful that once you take this step, the next step is going to be revealed. You can't get to that without taking this. You just can't, right?
That's it was said in a way that is better said than I could have said it. Right. Yes.
And sometimes when it comes to fear and being propelled forward, is that you are a very positive guy. So you don't sit there and opine about what could go wrong. Yeah, this hasn't happened yet. It could go wrong, but it could go right.
Right.
You won't know until you do it. So why think about the things that could go wrong? Why not just walk into what you see, what you want to happen?
Can I share something with you?
Absolutely.
Because you tell me a story that I've never really said on the air here. But last season, I'm a Coastal Carolina grad. Shout out. So we're leading up to the season opener. I had a little staff with me, and we had it set. We wanted to go on the air live to do the show. All these questions are popping up. Can we get the internet access on campus? Because they're not going to let us through, and there's going to be a lot of cellular waves getting used. What happens if this goes wrong? What happens? And I said, guys, if it goes wrong, we learned all these valuable things that went wrong and how to fix them.
Right.
And we get to learn.
Right.
And so if it goes right, we'll feel like heroes when
Exactly.
it's over. So sometimes you do have to bury it down and say, I'm going to just put it out there.
Got to.
Yeah.
You just have to, because you just don't know. And even when you are at your worst, somebody is going to look at you because you're your best to somebody. Even when you're at your worst, somebody's going, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I wish I could do that. And it's like, gosh, I sucked at that. I wish you think how many different ways you could have said it. But the most important thing is you did it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we had Lauren Hall. She's a country music singer, and she was on the show, and she told me something that I thought was really powerful. If you've ever been out there and you've been looking at a job interview, and you're nervous going in, and you feel nervous, a lot of times you want to try to pretend to the interviewer, oh, I'm not nervous. Well, I'll tell you what, it means something to me when you're nervous, because it means to me that you care about this job.
Right.
And Lauren told me, she said she had this great fear of going on stage as a youngster, and so much so she was really shy. And she said that as she overcame that when she got older, she realized that fear was just because it meant so much to her, and that was something that propelled her. I just thought, wow, what a great insight from somebody who has fought the fear like you did when you were younger.
Right. And one of the things that I did, because sometimes, like I said, I'm not the most politically correct. And I can pull out cannons, like in my Facebook. If I pull out the cannons, it's like, I'll blast you.
Oh, boy.
It's not what I say, it's how you take it. So it's hard for you to offend me because I retain that power for myself. So if you say something to me that I don't like, my first thing is, why did that get under my skin?
Yeah.
It's not what you said, it's how I reacted to it.
It was something within.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a growth moment. So I was on stage once, y'all, and this guy came, he was heckling from behind, whatever. And I'm like, come here.
Okay.
Come here. Security, bring him up here. Bring him up here. And he came up there, and I gave him the mic. I'm like, you do it.
Oh.
And I walked away. And he was, he bombed. He bombed. He completely bombed because I'm like, hey, man, it takes preparation for this. Everybody can't. You make it look easy, right? You can make it look easy, but some of us, you've had to develop it, but some of it was innate.
Yeah.
Some of it was innate, but everybody, like I said when I first met you, And this is hard to hear and it's hard to say sometimes. But I told the men at the men's conference, I'm like, some of y'all are here because some of you want to go from here, you want to go to the next level. But some of y'all are here for free food. Some of y'all are here for free entertainment, right? It didn't cost you anything to get here. So some of y'all don't want to get to the next level. But you got to realize this though. We all can't be managers and CEOs because you need workers, right? Everybody is not going to be, everybody just doesn't have the bandwidth to go from here to here. Some people are just going to mill about, and that's what it is.
Let me ask you a question, because you said something a little bit ago that I love that you use the terminology you use, because I use this too. I talk about potential talent. It's like potential energy. If you're into physics at all, it's potential talent. And how do you unlock that? And do you find that some people maybe not ready at the age of 20, but all of a sudden 30, something blossoms and now that potential is ready to come out? I mean, what have you seen?
Well, when it hurts enough, when the pain is too much to endure, then you'll change.
Wow.
If a person's just coasting, they may not like it, but it hasn't gotten so unbearable that they just have to do something about it.
Man.
And the issue with people like us, sometimes we can see the potential in someone else. But if they can't see it, we'll burn ourselves out trying to get them, but it's in you, it's in you, it's in you. But it's like, if they don't see it, it's like, you're wasting your time.
It doesn't matter, right?
When the student is ready, the teacher appears. In relationships, I tell my ladies who are looking for a guy, oh gosh, but he has the potential of this. He has the potential that he works on cars so well. He has the potential to own a garage. Has he ever showed you any business plans about wanting to own a garage? Has he ever showed you a place that he's looking at possibly renting out? Has he ever acted on the potential? You see it, but he might be happy just being a mechanic working at Grease Monkey Joe's. He might not want to own Grease Monkey Joe's.
Right.
He might not. And then you have to be careful also, is because you meet him at this level. He's a 9-to-5 guy. You want him to be Rob. And you want him to inspire. You want him to travel. Well, when he does that, you only have 24 hours in a day. He hasn't learned to really manage his time. So do you really think that he's going to have as much time for you to do all the things? Because it costs to be great. It's hard to be a great father, a great husband, a great everything, and be great at all of those things simultaneously. I have to leave this place to go travel sometimes to be great. So my woman can't sit up here and be like, well, I want you here. Why are you not here? I can't be great too and be here too.
Man, you just said something that I think is underrated, underrated in this way. So we a lot talk about you distributing your own greatness and pushing for the top, but then you may have a partner who you need to be very careful in what you're picking for both of you, because that partner may not totally be on board with what it takes for you to be great. In other words, like, so I go talk to a group of college students. I say, what do you guys want to do one day? I want to be a singer. I want to be a famous spriter or whatever it is, usually a social media influencer, you know how that goes. And I say, well, that's great, but you're going to have to put in so much more work than you may know. If you're passionate about it, you're going to have to do it. But you just introduced a new element. You said for the spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend who's looking at the other one and saying, I want you to do this, but are you prepared for them to do the things they need to do for you to be happy?
The college students, oftentimes when I talk to them, I'm like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, do you see yourself getting married one day? Well, yeah. I'm like, you might have to remix that.
Oof, yeah.
When you are by yourself, any decision that you make impacts you, right? When you take on somebody else in your life, now you're deciding for two. Suppose you want to go there, but they want to stay here. You're going to create conflict.
Absolutely.
And sometimes picking the wrong person, that's why it goes into dating and stuff. Your potential could be limited based upon the person that you pick and choose to do life with. Right? So I just think it's like, as far as passion and potential is concerned, I don't want to sound crass or negative because I'm not, but I only have so much amount of time. And again, I'm learning how to die well. Mm-hmm. I can't mentor everybody because it's like, it'd be a waste or drain of my time.
That's right.
If you're already moving in that position, moving in that direction, it's easy for me to kind of take you and bring you forward because we're going flow. But if you're going this way and I got to reach back, and it's just too much of a drain, right?
Yeah.
Because most things roll downhill. You've never seen anything roll uphill. Mm-hmm. Anything that you try to stop from going downhill, you have to overcome that momentum, stop it, and then drag back up. You could be losing your destiny or time trying to just bring people up that just, I'm not going to say they never will come up, but I've learned that sometimes I'm the seed planter. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm the waterer.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not the person that you just need to, I'm going to grab hold to you and we just run to the top of the mountain.
Right.
I could hitch my wagon to you because you're moving forward. Mm. We won't create that much resistance. Mm-hmm. It's like if you flag down a little bit, I can pull you and vice versa, but we have this upward momentum. Some people just don't have it, Rob.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the issue sometimes of doing stuff that we're doing right now. I'm the person that says, look, men are killing themselves. I told you this the last time with masculine vulnerability. In 2022, 38,082 men kill themselves. Compared to 9,621 women because of the pressure associated with trying to be this guy, right? And they're not that guy. Society says you need to be this to be a real man.
Right.
And it's just not in them.
What has changed that has propelled this forward to being that extreme of a difference? I mean, has it always been an extreme difference where men were that much higher than women, or is there something going on in modern society?
Well, before 1980 and in 1980, men and women were graduating from college about the same level. Mm-hmm. In 81 and 82, for the first time in history, women overtook men as far as degrees in higher education and income. Mm-hmm. So you take the traditional viewpoint of men, I'm supposed to protect, provide, and perform. A real man is supposed to go out there and know how to fix the car. Mm-hmm. A real man is supposed to know the answers. If you don't, just suck it up. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in society for men to be vulnerable or to be emotional. And if you were, you're a crybaby, you're a punk, you're all these things.
Right.
And it's like grown men don't cry. Yeah, if you can't cry, you can't cleanse your soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And David in the Bible, one of the strongest, fiercest warriors would sometimes cry. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You have to be vulnerable, but society doesn't reward vulnerability in men.
Yeah.
And if I'm on the streets, there are very few organizations that have reached out and tried to take me in. But if I was a woman with a kid, there's so many organizations and stuff that help out. So men are afraid to cry out like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know how to get there. But if you don't realize that, if you don't admit I don't know how, you won't know how. At least if I say, Rob, I don't know. Yeah. But can you help me? Can you show me? Then I'm vulnerable. The ground is right for me to take whatever it is to go to the next level. But if I can't be vulnerable, I'm a man, I'm tough. I'm not going to accept help from you because I need to figure it out. But I have no clue of what I'm doing, but I can't say that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of men are just choosing suicide. Yeah. And I think it's sad.
It's real sad. Well, and I'm going to go this step. I'm going to say statistically, for the people listening and the men listening to this, you're not alone. You're clearly not alone. So when you're feeling that feeling, sometimes you got to get that out, and you got to understand you're not alone. And you used David a minute ago, King David from the Bible. I think there's another one that we can use on that, but famously, David had some transgressions, we should say, not to go too deep into it, but some people would let that take them down too. And he came back, and of course, one of the greats in the Bible, as it were. So I think there's a lot of lessons we can take from that.
It is. It's hard. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, I did this. And I'm like this. Look, I can be transparent with my life because I have a life. Yeah. I was young. I made foolish decisions. I didn't figure it out. But at some point, you mature emotionally.
Yeah.
And so I don't care if people will be like, okay, well, how can you talk about this and you did that and you did that? I'm like, how long ago was it? And like, again, I don't want to get all scriptural, but if you haven't done anything wrong, then throw a rock at me. Right? If you've done nothing wrong in your life that you ever wish you could go back and hit the reset button, then kill me now. But I think that all of us wish that we could, but it's not what you did. It's like, what have you learned from it? And if you keep repeating it, you're SOS, which is stuck on stupid. Some people are just SOS.
Hey, you know what? This is for the business owners out there too. I'm going to tell you, I always said somebody makes a mistake. I actually rejoice in the mistake as long as you learn from it.
Exactly.
Now, because then that's just a training opportunity. Exactly. We just trained, right?
Exactly.
And that $500 you cost me, that was a training. Now, if you do it twice, now that was a mistake.
Right. And some people just sit back and they do it 3 times or 4 times. Like, look, if you mess up, I mess up. There's times when I look at myself and I'm like, Dre, I can't believe you did that. What were you thinking? And if I do that to myself, Rob, you mean to tell me that you won't do that to me?
Yeah.
A lot of times we give ourselves so much grace because when I mess up, there's a reason I messed up. But if you messed up, it's unforgivable. You should know better.
And it's because you're just a bad person.
That's it.
So this is some great stuff. I think a lot of value you've given us today. I want to take one quick step back and talk about, this was your first book.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what's your
date number.
What's your date number and how's that work?
Okay, it was kind of funny because I wanted to do something different, and a lot of people said, "What's your D8?" I'm like,
is that a drink?
I'm like, date, man. What's your date number? I'm trying to be cute. I'm trying to be slick. But on a scale of 1 to 10, most of the time people rate aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, suppose on a scale of 1 to 10, it represented personality traits. Suppose number 1 was avoid me at all cost.
Okay.
All right. Suppose number 10 was number 1 stunner, right?
Okay, I got you.
So it's like, okay, with the avoid me at all costs, or let's just say number 2, the doormat. I used to be the doormat. Now, the thing with date numbers is, let's just say when we're born, we're all assigned a little imaginary number.
Okay.
Then people would know by looking at that number where we stacked up, right, and how to treat us, right? So I'm like, okay, so a number 2 is a doormat, and I'm like, okay, well, that's the type of person who just take anything, and they're people pleasers, and it's just kind of like, that was my personality trait. So when people saw me, you could be so disgustingly nice that people will just walk on you just because.
It kind of reminds me of that movie Hitch. Did you ever see Hitch?
Yes,
Will Smith. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. He's too nice.
It's just too nice. And it's like, if someone's in a relationship with you, they just do stuff because they look at you as pathetic. Like, you let me do this to you.
Right.
And there's nothing exciting about it. And then you can get to the other end of the schedule. Like I was saying, like if you are an 8, you should date your date number or below. And people say, you wouldn't want to go higher. Well, no, because the people with the lower date number would feel like they're lucky to get you. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So if you wanted to keep your self-esteem and stuff, date yours or lower, right? So it kind of resonated with a lot of people. It was a tongue-in-cheek look at personality traits. And like, well, the beautiful thing about date numbers, a lot of times you have bonus points. Like a women would do this a lot. A guy could be like a 7. Visually, but because of his personality, because of what he's doing, she might bump him up to like an 8, right? She might bump him
enough to get him passing.
Right? He's an 8. He's nice. But the thing about that is, whenever you get on her nerves, she'll revoke that back. It was like, with your funny looking self, you don't deserve me, right? And so we all have the little bonus points. So it's a way to look at personalities in a interesting way. You know, and it just kind of resonated with quite a few people. And it was the first one, but it kind of spurred me on to write the second one and the third one. And
okay. All right. So what I'm going to tell people is, and before this is over, I want to tell people how they can get their hands on these books, because that's some good stuff. And you know me, I'm a fan of knowledge. I know my Enneagram number, I know my disc, I know my Myers-Briggs. You know that. So now I want to know what my number is. I'm going to have to read this book.
Right.
What's my date number? Not that I'm dating anymore. I've been out in the game for a long time.
Yeah. His wife will stick something in him if he try to go out there too.
Right.
She'll cut him deep.
But I know what you mean, man. I'm looking at my wife different now. I'm saying, oh boy, I just turned back into a 7 today. So, no, that's cool. Well, let me ask you this. So let's go back to that internal feeling that you're having. Yeah. And sometimes you're on a day where you may not feel like your best self. And whatever your job happens to be, maybe you're the quarterback of the football team, maybe you're a motivational speaker, maybe you're just a manager of a group, but you're not feeling it. First of all, you acknowledge that within yourself. But what do you do, or do you have some tricks for us to know how we can still pull it out and get there?
Absolutely. It's not about you.
Wow.
It's not about you. It's not about how you feel. It's not if you have a bad day. It's not the people who are there who need you, need what it is that you have. Now you have it. You just don't feel like bringing it forward. But it's in there. It's in there. So it's not for you. Rob needs to hear this. And if Rob matters enough to you, you do it. And that goes back to the purpose. Sometimes it's not about the passion, it's the purpose, it's the why. Yeah. So that gets me out of bed, that gets me moving.
I'm going to tell you, that is such a simple but true tip, that when you can stop making it about you and you can make it about your contribution to the other people, I think that makes all the difference. And sometimes I'm telling people when I'm doing sales training, leadership training more than anything, you start off as a baby and everything's about you. You got to cry to get your food. You get a little bit older and it's about your toy. It's my toys. And you get a little bit older and it's about, oh, I got to look cool in school. Then it's later, it's about getting promoted. But it's as you're going up that chain, you got to start giving a little bit more.
Got to start giving a little bit.
And it's about how you're going to make everybody around you better. I heard this great clip one time, and it was from Kobe Bryant near the end of his career, actually at the end of his career. And he said, I always set out to be the best player out there. That was my goal. But he goes, as I got to the end of my career, I realized that the greatest gift was how I could make people better. I'm like, man, that is some knowledge.
And you can look at the Kobe Bryant era, the Michael Jordan era, how they inspired people, but it was pretty much about them. But you look at the LeBron James. He helps a lot of people be better around him because he's a great player all around. You know. So it's like the why. Again, I have to tell myself, Drake, you're really not that important. It's not really about you. It's really about what you learned and what you can give away to help somebody else. Really. So you sitting around here, even here, you're not leaving this place and not doing what you need to do. It's not going to help anybody else. And at what point, how selfish are you going to be? It's a very selfish thing to get caught up in your feelings and not be great.
I'll tell you this much, and this may sound cliche, but what you want your tombstone to say, and very rarely is it going to be about how cool you were. It's going to be about what you gave back. So
that's true. Unless people lie, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? People stand up and
I want you to write this on my tombstone,
that's
please.
What I'm saying, right. But you know, just authentically show up. Just authentically show up and be. You're great. I can't try to be. See, it really doesn't matter, Rob. The problem that a lot of people run into is I can look at what you're doing, how great you are, then I compare myself to what you're doing, and I can be like, I suck. My life is horrible. I wish I was more like Rob. I wish I had Rob's life, but I won't have your life. I can't have your life. All I have is my life. I have to be great with my life, right? And you just have to determine, again, going back to what I said earlier, success is defined as whatever it is that you set out to do. You're purposefully doing that. If I wanted to be, let's just say, well, I want to make a movie. I want to be in a movie. Even if it's an independent film. I was successful because I wanted to be in the movie. I did it. Now there's different levels to this thing, but you got to realize a person's capacity, and that's part of being a leader as well.
Yeah.
You got to realize the capacity of the people who are following you. And some people are going to be soldiers. Some people can be elevated to sergeants. Some people can be elevated to lieutenants, all the way up to colonels and generals. But everybody is not going to make it to sergeant.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to make it to lieutenant colonel. And the wise leader knows this is where you fit. This is where you'll be most powerful. This is where, so if you're on this, if you're the janitor, for me to try to get you to be the superintendent might be a stretch, but for me to say what you really look at these, this is the cleanest bathroom, that will inspire you to be the best janitor that you can be. And you may, by being that, move up.
There you go. Okay.
But I'm not inspiring you to be the superintendent because that's not in you yet.
Right. That's got a lot to do with really recognizing somebody's value and potential value, but not pushing them too far. You set them up for failure.
Exactly.
Man, it's good stuff. I'll tell you what, this guy right here, you see why I want him on the show? He's got Dr. Phil impressions. No, that was cool. I mean, I feel like that's a whole story itself.
Right.
But the books, let me ask you, how can the people find you? What's the best way to get to Dr. Blaylock?
The best way that you can find me is andreblaylock.com.
Okay.
All right, just andreblaylock.com.
Nice and easy.
And that's all my social media. On Instagram is Dr._Andre_Blaylock. Facebook, Andre Blaylock. So it's basically my first and last name. So Amazon, that's how you can find the books. Go to Amazon, look for Andre Blaylock, and the books will pop up there.
Very nice. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a big fan. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, man.
There's so much knowledge. We'll have to get you back on again sometime for sure.
And I gotta get you in the hot seat, man. I gotta put some peppers on your tongue.
Hey, when you go to his website, he's got hot sauce on there with ghost pepper. So I mean, and everybody knows I like a little hot sauce, but that sounds like a future show coming up.
Oh yeah, that's
and get the milk on the side because I heard that helps.
it does.
Hey,
Thanks,
look,
man.
This has been Rob Clemens with Dr. Andre Blaylock. Check him out, and Leader Mentality Show always.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, my friend.
Man, thank you.
All right, you got it. We want to thank all our sponsors and our viewers. Please like and share us on social media, and we'll see you next time on the Leader Mentality Show.
Peace.